and stay safe. This presentation will review some situations that can pose a health and safety risk to paramedics. We will first review helicopter safety. The following is a video by Orange, outlining the safety procedures that should be taken around their helicopters. As part of your helicopter safety training, you should have received 2 handouts. The first handout reviews how to approach or leave a helicopter and covers requirements for a landing zone. The second handout reviews safety around a fixed-wing aircraft. Now let's review the first of our 5 special circumstances. Falls from height. Wherever there is a risk of falling 3 meters or more, special equipment is required. What types of situations would this include? This would include calls being done on rooftops, at construction sites, or at embankments with unprotected edges. Or it can refer to any area that has an unprotected opening that is 3 or more meters above the ground. So what do we mean by an unprotected opening? An unprotected opening is any opening that is not protected by a guardrail or a parapet that is at least 1 meter high. For example, let's say this was your patient. Notice how everyone except the police officer in the middle is wearing the appropriate equipment for this situation. So what is the danger to you when responding to a situation like this? You can sustain serious injury or death due to falling. So what are your options? If there are personnel on scene with the appropriate equipment, ask them to move the patient 2 or more meters from an unprotected edge. If that is not possible, either due to the injury of the patient or the lack of appropriate personnel on scene, wait at a safe distance and request that the patient be extricated by Allied Emergency Services with the appropriate equipment. Next, we will move on to machine and electrical hazards. What are the hazards to you? There's contact with moving parts, electricity, heat, fire, or cold, contact with pressurized gas or liquid, harmful chemicals, noise, radiation, or vibration. So what are the potential consequences? Death, dismemberment or injury, or entanglement. It is important to ensure that the equipment is de-energized or locked out.
There we go.
So what are your options? First and foremost, wear appropriate PPE. Confirm that the equipment has been turned off or disabled. If you are unsure, request the assistance of Allied Services. Now we will take a look at confined spaces. What is a confined space? A confined space has a very specific 2-part definition. A confined space is a fully or partially enclosed space that is not designed for continuous human occupancy and may contain atmospheric hazards due to its construction, the location or contents, or work that is done in it. Let's take a look at the atmospheric hazards. You can have altered oxygen content, which could mean too little or could also mean too much. You could have the accumulation of flammable explosive agents, or you can have atmospheric contaminants that are hazardous to health. These are just some examples of confined spaces. If you are looking for more information or a more detailed list, please visit the Ministry of Labor website. What are the hazards of a confined space? You can be exposed to chemicals. There could be fire hazards or temperature extremes. This can lead to difficulty breathing, loss of consciousness, or death. You may also experience skin reactions, hypothermia, heat stroke, or burns. This slide demonstrates how quickly you can be overcome by chemicals or fumes in a confined space. It is not acceptable to enter a confined space for even a brief moment to assess a patient. If you are called to a patient in a confined space, do not enter. Confined spaces are to be entered by trained personnel only. Have appropriately trained personnel extricate the patient and bring them to you. Excavations and trenches. So what is it? It's a man-made cut, a cavity, a trench, or a hole that is left in the ground as a result of removing material. What are the potential hazards? You can have cave-ins. Cave-ins can trap you within seconds and kill you within minutes. A cubic yard of dry soil weighs approximately 2,500 pounds. This can cause serious, life-threatening internal injuries. If you are buried under soil, suffocation can occur in less than 3 minutes. Other hazards include falling materials. Falling materials can lead to injuries. When dealing with excavations and trenches, you are dealing with loose dirt and uneven ground. Thus, other hazards also include slips, trips, and falls. And again, that can also lead to injuries. There are also some additional hazards worth noting. You often find heavy machinery around excavations and trenches. There is also the possibility that these machines can contact electrical wires or disturb utilities, which can result in explosions. So what are your options in this situation? First of all, never enter a trench that is deeper than 4 feet, unless it is protected by one of the following: sloping, shoring, or a trench box. Also keep in mind that if you are responding to a cave-in, the cave-in occurred because the ground is unstable. Secondary cave-ins are a possibility. If it is unsafe to enter, request that Allied Services extricate the patient. Stand back at least 2 meters from the edge to prevent falling in. The last special circumstance we will be dealing with is water. So what are the hazards around water? First of all, there's the potential for drowning. There could also be biological hazards in or around the water, and also water temperature. Other hazards include currents and undertows. Additionally, there can also be debris in the water, or you could fall through ice. So how does this affect you, the paramedic? There is the potential for death, infection or chemical burn, hypothermia, or scalding, and additionally, cuts, scrapes, and other injuries. So what are your options? First of all, maintain a safe distance from the water to prevent falling in, and defer patient extrication to personnel trained in water rescue. So what steps should you take if you do encounter a situation which may affect your ability to respond to or treat a patient? First of all, notify one desk. They will notify the nearest available superintendent and send them to your location. Also, request that the appropriate Allied Emergency Service attend. And finally, report the existence of any hazard of which you are aware. If they are to send any additional crews to your scene, those crews should be aware of the existence of any hazards. Ultimately, the goal is to stay aware and stay safe